And we're recording. Okay, cool. We are module 2, lesson 3 already of the effectology method. So hi, welcome everybody. It's beautiful to see you. Right, let me get my chat box up as well. There we go. Let's do this. It feels like a long time, but not a long time. I don't know, it's been one of those weeks. We've got Easter coming up and Anzac Day over here in Australia. I'm going, what's with all these public holidays? Every day is a public holiday in my life, right? All right, so let me I'm just going to mute you all for a second. Let's do a little bit of grounding and getting ourselves in the right headspace. So I'll just mute you all. Right, so if it's safe to do so, you might want to take a moment to close your eyes and just allow yourself to be right where you are. Just noticing what it feels like to stop thinking, doing, fiddling with things, rearranging your desk and your chair and whatever you were doing before, and just being right here, right now. And let's get started with a heart coherence today. So just taking your awareness and your focus to the center of your chest by either crossing your palms there or placing 2 fingers, whatever feels right for you. And just taking your focus into that lovely little center of your chest, all that beautiful intelligence that resides there and all the power. That's right. And just starting to slow down even more as you allow your breath to consciously pass through that heart space, slowing it down just a little more than natural, just a little elongated and a little fuller than normal without forcing it, just enjoying it, enjoying the feeling of slowing down, being present, connecting with your heart, which is always there for you, guiding you, supporting you, nourishing you. And letting those breaths energize that space within. Feeling all the intelligence that lives there starting to come alive even more with your awareness of it, your connection to it. And just taking another moment to recognize and remember that that's all it actually takes for you to slow down and connect to what's always there ready and waiting. And now that the breath is nice and slow and even and everything's slowed down, you can feel your whole body starting to relax even more now. Start to generate that beautiful high frequency, high vibrational emotion, that elevated emotion from within that heart space. And you can call it love or joy, gratitude, appreciation, whatever feels most natural and easy for you to reach. That's right, always make it an easy reach so that you can rest in that space. And as you continue to slowly, deeply and consciously inhale and exhale, start to energize that emotion, grow it, make it stronger, let it grow and flow. Feel it expanding gently, naturally, just of its own accord. All you need to do is keep paying attention to it, keep enjoying it, keep energizing it with your breath. Inhaling and growing in love, exhaling to expand in love. Inhaling, growing in love, exhaling to expand in love. Inhaling and growing in love, and exhaling to expand even further. I'll just let you go on your own for a couple more rounds, making that feeling even stronger, even bigger, even wider. And now flow that feeling all through your body and let it get even more powerful. And imagine it spreading out in all directions, that energy flowing, connecting to all the love that's out there. Always present, always available, connecting with every other woman in this circle, in this program. Every other woman who's on this journey. Feeling the collective power of the raised consciousness, the connection to heart, and the ripple effect that that causes throughout the world. And when you're ready, just take a deep breath in and come all the way back into the room. Nice work. Beautiful, beautiful. Okay. Now, if you already know that you want to ask me something, like a more general question at the end of the call, just ask, type in the chat box to put you on the list, and I'll keep a little list of names for the end. And meanwhile, let's take a moment to celebrate whatever's been happening for you ladies. So I'm going to start. I'm celebrating that back in January, we were walking on the beach down south at Middleton, because we like to kind of get away for a couple of weeks and go to the beach in summer, and we would talk about, our future plans and where we want to live and what we're going to do with our big house that's too big for us. And I'm like, do you know what? We could probably buy like a little place on the beachfront, because they're probably not that expensive, and just have our base here in Adelaide, because we want to move, up to Queensland to get out of winter. And we kind of started looking and went, yeah, we can do that. And we set the intention in January, and yesterday we signed contracts and all of that to buy a little beachfront apartment, and it's like in a really cool spot, and it's so much nicer than I dared to hope. I thought, we'll just get a little box. It doesn't matter. It'll just be our summer little, Airbnb. We'll just rock up with our bags, and it doesn't matter if it's small. But it's gorgeous. It's really gorgeous, and it's in a really good spot, and it's right on the beach. And so we're really excited. Now we kind of want to move into it, except my daughter's decided to live with us again. So we don't know exactly how that's all going to pan out. We'll just float between the two and do a bit of Airbnb and see how it goes. But yeah, I said tonight, we did good, didn't we? And it was just so easy. Like, we just went for this little scooter ride, checked it out, went, yeah. Okay, went for another look, went, okay, we're going to make an offer, got it accepted the next day, signed the contract the next day, got a building inspection done, and he was like, yeah, it's all good. I know there's some stuff that looks bad, but it's all covered, it's all good. And we're like, all right, meant to be. Got an awesome deal too, got a really good bargain. So, yeah, very, very, very exciting. So that was really fabulous to have that. So, anyone else got any pom-poms are waving? Cool. Thanks, Sharon. Anyone else got anything they want to share that's happened, something cool this week? Unmute yourself. Let us know.
I've got to share. I've started in the past almost 2 weeks. I've got into my old habit of waking up in the middle of the night and obsessing over my business. And so I've been using the pattern interrupts, and I've been reading that Mind to Matter book, Miriam showed us. And because I love understanding the physics of the science behind it. Anyway, I did my meditation before I went to bed, and I was a bit uptight. And I woke up in the middle of the night, and it was the same old thing, this anxiety, you'll never be successful, all that stuff. So I was doing my pattern interrupts. And I did a very short meditation. And then I suddenly remembered how, the pattern interrupts definitely break that anxiety. It's like that's right. Thousands of women need the work that I'm doing. And it's like, yes. And then a little bit longer, the mind comes in again. Anyway, and then I remembered how I went to a JV conference a few years ago back in California, and there was a woman there that spoke to us called Laurel Langemeyer, and she's a multi-billionaire. She's one of the wealthiest women in the world, or in the US or whatever. And I remember I was really affected by her consciousness. And the next day when I was meditating, I had this download where I experienced the unlimited potential of the work that I do. Like, I actually saw it. And it really lifted me up for quite some time. And I experienced that again. So anyway, it was like 4:30 a.m., 5 a.m. and I'm on this real high, and I'm telling the universe, like I really mean this. Like I'm what is it? I'm sick of this low glass ceiling in my life. I'm really over it. Like I'm ready to, be expansive and unlimited. And I was just telling him with absolute certainty. It was like, listen, universe, God, I mean this, And it was like, and I couldn't sleep. I was in such a joyful state. And I got up 7 a.m. full of joy, and just, it was a really great experience. Thank you.
Cool. That's beautiful to hear. Well done. Good work.
Yeah.
Good work. And you tap back into that vibration because that's still there. And so it's really cool because, what we're doing, like in this module, you're starting to kind of understand how things work. And then we're going to keep building up into, now we've started just with the pattern interrupts, but now we're going to start turning that into how do I build the positive. So super, super cool, super
Fantastic.
Awesome.
Thank you.
And that vibration is always there. So just grab a hold of it, run with it, enjoy it. It's brilliant, brilliant, brilliant.
My tolerance of this, of all these self-limiting mindset is just like getting less and less. Like I'm really over it.
So cool. So little pattern interrupts like, oh, this is getting old, this is so boring, like kind of putting it in its place as just this, this nagging old wench kind of thing, that it's like, you know what, I'm a bit over you. I've humoured you. I used to listen to you, take you seriously, but I'm just over it. Like it's a really good way to dissociate yourself from it and get yourself out of it. So pattern interrupts are really cool. Like you just have to play with them a little bit and find the ones that really work best for you, and that you can only get that by playing with them and experimenting and just figuring out which ones work. So that's awesome. Well done. And you had this amazing moment of joy. And if you can get up feeling joyful at 7 o'clock after being awake since 4, I count that as a huge win.
I was dancing before I went to bed too because I wasn't feeling good. I was feeling stressed. I can remember what you said, and so I'm dancing, and I'm just thinking like I'm just not going to let this stay in my body. So it really works. It's just great.
That's cool. Stuff. Yeah, and using your physiology is really powerful too. That's really cool that you're doing that. Love it, love it, love it. Well done. Well done. Beautiful. Does anybody else want to share anything? What else has been happening this week? What other good things are going on? Let's energize them and give them momentum. Come on, ladies. You've got like a mastermind group here to help amplify. Like you've got to grab hold of every little thing and just feed it, fuel it. Catherine and then Robin.
Okay. So this week I had the cleaner for the first time.
Ooh.
And, oh, my goodness, I walk around going, wow, wow, wow. I've had my house for 4 years and things haven't been cleaned. Then they are amazing. Amazing. Yeah, it's really beautiful.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So
what a beautiful feeling of abundance.
Oh, I feel so rich. And my children are like, are we rich? I'm like, of course we are. We have a cleaner.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Of course we are.
I know. Cool. So that's the first thing. Other things that have been happening is like the clarity. The first part of the course, I'm just like, I know what I want now. And I know... I really know what I want.
Good. It helps.
That's a good thing.
It really helps. Yeah.
And I'm feeling so great in my body. I'm feeling really grounded. And that's right. With the fabulous Sharon, who was my buddy with the your money manifesting. Well, I went to my photo shoot with Greer, and it was best experience ever. I just felt like a fabulous. I was like having fun, dancing around. And on the way, I saw number plates with triple numbers, every 777, 111. And I'm like, whoa, this is totally, I'm the best version of me. Look at me. I'm like, I felt so confident in the shoot. The photos are going to be amazing. I was like, I'm stepping up now. This
Yes,
is the
you
big
are.
thing to be, and I am her.
You are her. That's right. And that's so cool, because that energy you took into the shoot, that'll be in your photos and in everything you do. You know, it'll just keep amplifying and feeding that vibration and that state. So that's so cool. So cool.
I really appreciate those tasks. Brilliant. It's a fantastic course. I'm just loving it. Thank you.
Thanks. I did think about it a lot.
I can see that.
Because there's so many things. And, you know, there are things I've left out of the program because they'll just distract you.
Thank you.
You're so welcome. You are so welcome. And we keep building and building and building. And, you know, the beauty of it is that even if you've done this before, multiple times, it is always worth going back. There's no such thing as too much clarity, and there's no such thing as too much connection to what's truly important to you. You know, you can always, and because you're constantly evolving and growing and changing, it keeps shifting a little bit all the time as well. Like, you are not the same person you were yesterday. You are slightly different. You've evolved a little bit. You know, things have happened. You've had, and so it's an ongoing journey. And so, you know, we just keep going. And whenever in doubt, go back to basics. Like, you know, that's the main thing that I always say to people when they go, oh, you know, it's gone off the rails for whatever reason. All right, go back to the absolute, like, go back as far as you possibly can. Go back to basics, because the human tendency tends to be, I need the next thing. And if you're getting wobbly, it means your foundations are soft, you know, and maybe that's because things have shifted in life, or you've grown a lot, or it's just time, you know, you've just gone through another metamorphosis of yourself, and it's just time to go, okay, who is this new me? And sometimes they're very subtle shifts where you wouldn't necessarily think you've changed, but you have changed. Your awareness has changed. Your way of thinking has changed. The way you relate to yourself has changed a little bit. And so, you know, you always go back. So, yeah, beautiful. Thank you for sharing that, because that also brings up an important point.
Sorry, there's one thing that's really very valuable, extremely valuable, is at the start when my first call, I talked about other people in my environment doing things. And I'm like, you know what? That is so good, because I can see where my vibration is traveling, because I'm attracting lovely, lovely people. And even if my children are fighting, I'm like, you know what? This is their interaction. Now I can come in and I can kind of soothe it. You know, I don't create more drama. I can actually just be the observer, or I can move away from that and let them work that out. Like, it's a very different thing. Like, before I didn't realize how much I added to my children's conflicts. You know, I wasn't helping them, because it dies out on its own, actually, with a lot of children's fights, if it doesn't get violent.
Kids are really quick. Like, they can build momentum quickly, but they can also let it go and grab a fresh start.
Yes, I know.
Whereas, adults will keep the momentum going for a lot longer. And, you know, we've also lived longer, so we've got all these different vibrations on all these different topics, and we just don't leave them alone for really that long a period. And it's always easy to pick back up on it. But, yeah, kids get over stuff quickly, because, you know, they're very good at getting in alignment and making a fresh start.
I know.
You getting in there and adding to the momentum is not helpful. No.
I think I was doing that. I notice now. School holidays are a really good, research.
Oh, yeah. School holidays are always interesting. They test everything. They test the boundaries and the systems of your business. They test your own state of alignment. They test how you've designed your life. They test.
I love it. It's great. Thank you.
You're super welcome. All right. Anybody else want to? Oh, sorry, Robin, you had something. You're looking very Heidi today with your little headscarf. It's very cute. Hang on, let me unmute you so we can actually hear you. Oh, no, we just both pressed the button at the same time. Okay, you're good to go.
Heidi is what you do with your hair when you don't go in the water every day because it hasn't been washed lately. So, normally I wash it every day. I'm celebrating business. I've found another project that sort of fell in my lap very easily. Just like that, yes. Just like that. And I've got to point out too, you know, in my business, although I don't feel I have many limiting beliefs, but sometimes you have limiting beliefs about, oh, well, they won't take that amount of money for it, a bit like what you bought, Miriam,
Yes.
and I've just sat down logically with her and worked through exactly what it did cost, because she wanted to do this herself, and what she designed and what it was going to cost to build, and blah, 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 blah. And this is what I could afford to pay, allowing myself to make some profit. And she went, okay.
Yeah, because you deserve to make profit.
And I went, okay.
Okay then. Yay! So another offer accepted.
Another offer accepted, contract signed, all done, dusted. Yeah, very good. Yeah, so it's another little project. I'll wait for the next one to fall in my lap.
I know, and when they drop, they just drop in so fast, so easy.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've had those conversations where sometimes nothing happens for some time, but that's okay. It's incubation period because they happen just like that.
And I do believe it's what you and I discussing the other day. A lot of it is me doing my form of a grid in alignment every day, and that just keeps me in that space where things just happen. I was just listening to you talk a little while ago too, and I just remembered that I used to be a person that was racing around doing things all the time. Very, very busy. I come out of a meditation and I go to do all the things I need to do. And now I've realized that I'm just much more calm, relaxed. There's no more racing. There's no more trying to squeeze everything in. What gets done, and it works better.
It does. Amazing, huh? And it took me 3 years to convince you, but it's good to hear.
Well, some of us take a while, whatever.
I'm just teasing you.
Whatever it takes.
So
do the grid thing, yeah.
I know, amazing. So Rob and I were having a chat yesterday in her 101 session just to bring everyone else up to speed so you can get a bit of benefit from it. And what she basically does is every morning she sets her intention, but her intention is the same every morning, to get in alignment. And I think that is just genius. Her sole intention each day is to get in alignment. I'm like, you're smarter than me. That's actually, that's it. If that's your sole intention every single day, everything else takes care of itself. So we'll talk about that on the masterclass call a little bit more later as well, because we're going to do some practical stuff today, I think, unless other things pop up. So just a quick recap on pattern interrupts. We've talked about it a little bit already. So the whole lesson 2 was about pattern interrupts and recognizing that, we do have this cycle of thoughts becoming things, and it's you can think of it as a neural pathway. You can think of it as your personality pattern. It is all of these things, and starting to recognize that there are all these different points along it where you have choice. Now, thoughts, we say thoughts become things, and it's a very catchy phrase, and well done, Mike Dooley, but a lot of thoughts to monitor, right? And so that's a bit of a tricky one. And it's great if you're aware of what's going on with your thoughts and you can do a little pattern interrupt and so on, but words and actions are more prominent, easier to catch. So we're kind of starting, we're working our way in here. So we're just starting with the external things of words and actions on the last module. And I did encourage you to pay attention to your thoughts as well, because you may as well. And all of you here are it's like Mark II, I think every round what happens is just by osmosis, we attract people who are already at a higher level. We don't have to go so much back to basics, which is super cool. So words and actions is what the main focus is in lesson 2.2. Starting to pay attention to what is that stuff you say without even thinking about it, because it's become such a habit. And, it usually happens in interactions with other people. And what are the things you do that are actually not in alignment with the ultimate outcome you want? The most evolved version of you, does she do some of these things? And looking at it and going, okay, that's not a match. And I can see there's a pattern going here, but I want to establish this new pattern. So what are some of the things I can do and say to interrupt the old pattern, particularly around words and actions, that also then help set up the new pattern? So the work from the last lesson was to look at that, to come up with some ideas, to brainstorm them, get together with your buddy if you can and help each other brainstorm and come up with ideas, and then kind of end up with at least one thing that's your go-to that works really well for you. particularly when you notice yourself saying or thinking certain things that you've noticed are a bit of a pattern that's really not serving you, and also having a physical pattern interrupt. And we'll talk about that a little bit more today because we're going to talk about acting as if. So a physical pattern interrupt, can be stuff like, like Jane said, doing some dancing and just physically shaking stuff off, just like breaking the momentum. That's really what you want to do. So we've talked about it a little bit, and there's been a bit of discussion in the group. But if anybody wants to share like what their kind of go-to pattern interrupts are that they find are working pretty well, or what they're playing with, that'd be really cool, because the more you share, the more you give other people ideas as well. And I know Layla's got all the songs lined up. Sharon, what have you got, honey?
Hi. What I do is that I imagine that it's just like I'm just closing the door on it. So when something comes through, it's like there's a light shining on it, and I want to take the focus off it. So what I do is I imagine I just turn off the light switch and slam down the roller door and walk away.
I love it.
And that's it. And I've been doing it now for a couple of months, and it's almost second nature now. And it's so much easier. Just turn off the light, shut the door, and walk away, and just take the focus off it. But I know that sometimes these patterns need to be re-examined later on to see where they come from and what I'm doing. Not all the time, but sometimes. And so it's like I've locked it away, but it doesn't mean that I can't come back and re-examine it in context to other things and have a look at some of my patterns. But it does mean that it's not pushing my life around at the moment. And
exactly.
Yeah.
Love that. You've raised a brilliant point, because the pattern interrupt is about stopping the momentum, because we want to stop reinforcing and feeding and fueling the old pattern. We just want to not let it continue gathering momentum. So we just throw a spanner in the works and go, no, you're not going anywhere. And that doesn't mean that you can't then still look into it and untangle what's going on. But when it's happening, that is not the time. Because when it's happening, if you try and get into resolving it and understanding it and figuring it out, then you're actually just going to fuel it and feed it. So that's really cool, that analogy you've got there. Like, just put a stop to it, lock it away, it can be examined later. What you're mainly doing is you're just going, I'm not buying into this right now, and I'm not going to let it gather momentum and let it train my vibration. I choose where I am vibrationally, and I will deal with you when the time is perfect, when I've got a moment. So I love it. That's really cool.
And I think that's really important too. I choose when I'm going to go through this stuff and look at this stuff, not this stuff is going to choose when it's going to affect me. And that's about that emotional control and emotional maturity that we're aiming for.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, Layla just said in the chat box as well that when the momentum is strong, it becomes much more difficult to interrupt because it's gathered momentum, right? That's law of attraction. It builds and builds and builds. So the key with the pattern interrupts is to become more and more self-aware all the time and stop it earlier and earlier. And as you do that, you weaken it, and eventually it's not even a thing anymore, right? So a lot of the time, just interrupting the pattern kind of takes care of things. And some of the time, it's still things that then need to be examined and, kind of healed and transformed when the time is right for you. But in the middle of it is never the right time. In the middle of it, you're just, you're just focused on the problem and you're just feeding and fueling it. So that's awesome. Thank you, Sharon, for all your wisdom. It's always incredible. Does anybody else want to share their pattern interrupt? What you got? Robin? All right, my hands are off. You unmute yourself.
Okay, I do a couple of things. When I find some talk happening in my head, I'll cross it out in my head mentally.
Love that.
So it's just like scribble, and I sort of go at the same time. And if I find myself getting tense and a bit stressed, like we were talking about earlier, I don't know what about, that's when I go into my whole shaking thing every other day or something like that. I'll go into what I do, the shake, and I find that's just the best thing under the sun.
Yeah, and if you're not sure exactly what's going on, but you're just feeling it, like you know when you're not in alignment, you know when you're carrying around resistant thought.
Yes.
Because it feels a bit, ugh, you know, you're just feeling a bit off. You're feeling tired or a little bit worried, and maybe you can't put your finger on exactly what it is and catch the instances, but you can just do the physical, you know, big pattern interrupt. And for some people that's going for a run, and for some people that's, you know, going for a swim in the freezing cold water first thing in the morning.
Well, it's all of those things. That's all of those
things. And sometimes, but it's good to just have that in the moment, you know, oh, okay, just resetting, because just the awareness that this is not right, and this is not part of me, and I need to kind of do a little reset. That's
I'll actually
really powerful.
reset probably in the morning, because sometimes I might find in the morning I might wake up with this unusual feeling, which might be some form of pressure or tense or whatever. And that's not just a little, it'll be a half-hour shake. It'll be a full thing.
Yeah.
There'll be some serious unwinding happening there.
Pretty cool.
And it's gone.
Yeah. We did some shaking with Robin on the advanced retreat in Bali last year, and it was a big day. And that also was the day that we went for the big sound healing. And by the end of it, we were like, yeah, we're going to skip our afternoon get together today because we're all just going to go lie on our beds. Our brains were just melted. It was really good. It was a huge day. It was really cool. We started with, did we do a half-hour shaking or longer?
20 minutes.
Yeah,
I'll
amazing.
extend it next time.
Yeah, it was amazing.
To nearly an hour next time. Yeah.
Wow, super cool. Yeah, it was really cool. Thanks for sharing that, Robin. That's really cool. Okay, so pattern interrupt. So if you haven't done them yet, keep up the work. Keep up the, you know, get together with your buddy, brainstorm it, and try stuff. Just try different things and make sure you're really clear on your go-to thing. Have one or two go-to things so that they're just there. You know, you can just do a quick draw McGraw and go, oh, not you again. Bang, bang. Down you go. Shut the roller door. And you're done. And it just gets easier and easier. And that then allows your vibration to bounce back up, and then you'll have moments like Jane had and so on. Okay, so moving on to lesson 2.3, which is kind of extending of what we've been talking about before we really get hardcore into it in the next module. Pattern interrupts are about really stopping the old pattern from continuing to build and gather momentum. But they're also a way of starting to plant the seeds for the new pattern, depending on which ones you do. So what we want to start looking at here is really looking at the more, again, we're starting with the more physical outer visible layers of programming the new cycle. So we're still talking about the thoughts become things cycle, and looking at some easy ways that we can really start laying down the new track. So remember that what you focus on is what expands. So the pattern interrupt needs to be quick and sharp. And then it's about focusing on what you do want, laying down that vibration, laying down that new pattern, and feeding and fueling it and giving it lots of loving and energy. So in this lesson, I talk about that, like faith. You know, we talk about faith and having faith a lot, and I talk a lot, and I really want you to take this on board, that faith isn't a passive thing. Faith is an activity. Faith is you showing up in faith, demonstrating that you expect the outcome you're hoping for. Because, you know, a lot of people will just sit back and go, oh, I have faith. And they use it as an excuse to do nothing and to kind of wait to be saved and have the universe or God or whatever their, you know, belief system is come in and rescue them, kind of thing. But you are the creator of your experience on all levels, vibrationally, in the way you show up, on every level, right? Yeah, so faith isn't about hope, you know, and there's that Jim Carrey speech where he says, I don't buy into hope. Hope is a beggar, right? And that's what it is. Hope is like, oh, I hope it's going to be okay, but I don't really believe it, is always the subtext, even if people don't say it. So faith is an activity. It's you showing up, demonstrating that you expect the positive outcome. So in this lesson, I want you to start looking at ways of acting as if. And it's a little bit of fake it till you make it, but it's actually also about showing up and like putting your money where your mouth is, and not just going, oh, I'm the conscious creator of my life, but I'm just going to hedge my bets, hope for the best, and play it safe just in case it doesn't work out. right? Because when you do that, obviously you're not in alignment and you're not congruent with the outcome. So you've got to find ways of starting to act as if little things, they don't have to be big risky things, like you don't have to go out and buy a Ferrari, especially if you don't want one, you know, but just showing up in little ways. So it's a bit of an extension of doing it like a physical pattern interrupt, but it's a much more powerfully aligned thing with the outcome of what you want. So I'll give you some really simple examples, like Martin and I deciding we wanted a beachfront house. Well, we started, searching realestate.com. I sat down with Robin and told her about our plans and got her thoughts and, some other ideas we had. I started driving around going, okay, this would be cool, this would be cool, this would be cool, and getting clear on what we wanted, and then just started going to open inspections. And, we looked at some places that we went, well, we don't want to spend this much money. Like, we could buy this, but then we're just, because we have other plans. Like, this is just it's going to be like our second home. So there's sort of a bigger plan. And so we started going to stuff just to get clarity and to, put the wheels in motion, and started talking to people and saying, this is what we're looking for. If you see something, let us know. And, starting to look, like getting our tax returns done so we can apply for finance and making sure we'll actually be okay with all of it and all that sort of stuff. It's actually acting as if it's going to happen. And we kept showing up to open inspections. We made our list of, this is what we're prepared to spend. This is what we want. This is our not negotiables. These are our, wish list that can be negotiables. Like, we got really clear and we started showing up in good faith that it's all going to happen. And it did. And we kind of went, oh, this is so much better than we expected in so many ways, Thanks, universe. Good job. Because it's cheaper than we expected and bigger and more luxurious than we expected and in a better location than we expected. Like, it's one of those cosmopolitan beaches where you can just go for a coffee and, there's groovy shops around, but it's not too busy and too crowded, which I don't like, So I'm like, oh my God, so much better than I expected. So that's the kind of stuff that happens. But if we hadn't started looking, started going for open inspections, got our tax returns done, we wouldn't have been in a position to even take the opportunity when it came up. We had to be ready. And so this is what I'm talking about. So acting as if is about you actually starting to take the baby steps in the direction of the outcome you want. Sharon said, faith is the motivating factor behind actions to bring forth things that are already here waiting for me to discover. Super cool. I love it when Sharon's on these calls with us because she's just like, you are Yoda. You're amazing. Love it. So I want you to look at that. What are some of the ways that you can start acting as if, just pick a couple of things that you want to manifest, that you want to create, whether it's a certain outcome in your business or your personal life or whatever it is. Look at the outcome and go, okay, if I absolutely expect this to happen, and I know beyond a shadow of a doubt that it will, even though I don't know how, and that's a big one, even though I don't know how, I absolutely have every expectation and complete faith that this will happen. So what do I need to do so that I'm ready, so that I'm not the bit that's holding up the flow, so that I'm not the one that's getting in my way? What do I need to do? What are my baby steps? So I want you to pick one or two things and start making, just doing a brainstorm of baby steps, and you can get together with your buddy if you want to do that, because brainstorming is really cool. You just get that collective energy going and then actually do it. So I'm just going to read Carol's question. There must be a difference between acting as if and fake it till you make it. Okay, yeah. So let me... I don't really do, like some people say fake it till you make it. I'm not saying fake it till you make it. I'm saying act as if, because you act as if you expect it. And if you don't fully expect it yet, then recognize it and find a way to start to expect it. Like, this is about you becoming self-aware and realizing that I am in alignment and I am actually expecting it, or I'm not. Does that make sense? And then starting to take the steps in the direction. So a really important part of this acting as if is acting as if versus what I call the horrid house, or Mike Dooley calls the cursed house, but that just sounds so American and I can't say it. No offense. to the Americans, but cursed house. It sounds like some, I don't know, some preacher, some southern preacher, cursed house. So horrid house rolls off my tongue much easier. So the horrid hows are when you obsess about exactly how it has to happen, when you try to micromanage all the steps along the way, and you decide that it has to be this and this and this and this, and you micromanage the universe. And when you do that, then you're actually closing down the possibilities. You're getting in your own way and you're getting yourself stuck. It's like you're kind of boxing yourself into a corner and going, well, I've decided that it has to be this, and then this, and then this, and then this. And because I can't see this, well, it's obviously not happening. So acting as if is about connecting with the end result and not worrying about which path is going to get you there, knowing that you've actually got like an incredibly intelligent and benevolent universe at your back that you are connected to, that you're learning how to co-create with more and more every day, and it can figure those details out. You don't need to worry your little brain with it, right? Because the universe has got it covered. Your job is to connect with the end result and start to be who you need to be so that you can do what you need to do to have what you want to have. And so acting as if is another way of connecting with the end result and starting to line up with it, starting to create this new cycle and starting to put the pieces of the puzzle of that into place and practicing that pattern more and more and more. So it's faking it till you make it. I know people say that a lot, and maybe sometimes they mean what we mean here, but it's not about being fake. It's about actually showing up in faith, that positive motion forward that demonstrates your positive expectation of the outcome you desire. Because when you say fake it, you're basically implying that you're doing something that you don't really believe in, that isn't congruent with you. I still think when people say fake it till you make it, they mean what we're talking about, but it's just not really the right terminology, is it? Yeah. So it's about alignment. It's a way of finding your way into alignment with it and finding little baby steps. So it doesn't have to be like the big demonstration, that is too big of a stretch. It's about finding the little baby steps that help you move in that direction. Because remember, law of attraction's got you as well, and it's going to gather momentum. So you just need to start somewhere. You just need to get the movement forward going. And then you've got guidance to help you. You've got your emotional guidance system, and at the live weekend event, we do a really cool physical demonstration of your emotional guidance system. But the thing is, you've got to take a step forward before you can get guidance and for you to gather momentum. If you stay stationary, nothing happens. So it's up to you to get the movement started. So does anyone have any questions around that? Is that clear? It's a fairly simple concept in some ways, but then, it's easy to go off track sometimes and get yourself confused. So I just want to make sure everyone's clear with that. Good. Excellent. I'm seeing nodding. And awesome. So there's just one other bit that I mentioned in this lesson that we're going to get into in huge detail in the whole of the next module, because the whole of the next module is about how to get in vibrational alignment, because that trumps everything. Here we're just starting to do some physical things to kind of start getting our physiology on board and starting to demonstrate it outwardly, because that is also important. So the other thing that I mentioned in this lesson is to start paying attention to your emotional state, because your emotional state is your check-in on where your alignment is at. If you're feeling good, you're in alignment. If you're not feeling good, something's out of alignment. There's resistance. Something's, off. And that doesn't mean that you won't sometimes have periods of contrast where things come along, that aren't quite what you want, and it doesn't feel nice, and it gives you clarity on what you do want. But the key is not to get stuck in the contrast. Contrast is always going to be there, and we can get into some pretty advanced concepts on it, but contrast will always need to be there to create motion forward, because by knowing what you don't want, it helps you know what you do want and what you're moving towards. So contrast helps you move forward, but being stuck in it is a whole different thing. So eventually you can get to a stage, you will get to a stage where when the contrast comes up, you kind of accept it as just part of the journey, and you celebrate it, and you don't like go, oh no, I'm having a negative emotion. You kind of go, oh cool, I'm having a negative emotion, or I'm having a negative feeling experience. That's given me clarity on what I do want. How cool is that? I know I've obviously turned this way and gone, oh, I so don't like that. Well, what are you going to do? Are you going to stay there, keep staring at it and obsess over how much you don't like the view? Or is that a reminder to go, oh, cool, now I know that this is the way I do want to go, and this is what feels good. So you've got this emotional guidance system available, and all of it taps into law of attraction, right? So you just need to find a way to get started. And that's why even with the heart coherence, I prompt you to just go to whatever is within easy reach. That's a positive step forward. And know that law of attraction will kick in, the momentum will build, and you'll go from there. So use that when you're doing your acting as if. Use that by just taking baby steps that you can do without creating this big, disconnect that's going to create all this resistance and have you staring at the gap. Because you don't want to be obsessing with the gap between where you are and where you want to go. You just want to take a little baby step forward and a little baby step forward, and be really present in that little bit of an improved bit of alignment, That is enough. That is enough. So when you're doing your acting as if, find a way to get into as great feeling a state as you possibly can, and be smart enough to know when you're pushing it way too far past the envelope and you're just fooling yourself, because that's when you're faking it till you make it, right? When you try to take too big a jump vibrationally, and you're trying to, I don't know, I'm trying to think of an example. If you go like to some big gala ball or whatever, and you decide to show up in some dress you've rented that you could never afford, and you're surrounded by all these people and you're actually totally intimidated and freaking out, right? Then that might be too much of a stretch for you. But just to cruise through the neighborhood that you'd like to live in and go, wow, imagine what it would be like living that as, that might be more of a baby step in that direction. Does that make sense? Yeah. Okay, cool. Good. Robin says, I built my business on that. Act as if I had the money to do the development. Act as if I could purchase it, and I did. Not worrying about the house, just taking the steps, and you still do that. I know. And you do it really well. And, what Robin does is such a, and she's good at the numbers and at making sure all the details correct, but it's a business where it would be so easy to just get really caught up in the numbers and what's here and now, and what seems obvious and doable, and what the facts are. But the thing is, the facts are just what you've created based on your past vibrational alignment, and your current vibrational alignment is what's creating the next fact and the next fact and the next fact. And Sharon says, I could have lived thinking I have no car and can't get anywhere. Yeah, you're the best example of choosing to ignore reality because you're constantly creating it anyway. Send out rockets of transportation is easy. Great public transport access and people offering me lifts. I've had the most interesting Uber drivers. That's really cool. Yeah, everything is a gift and everything is a step along the journey. So remember that it's, at the end of the day, it's all about alignment as you're doing your acting as if, and leave the horrid house out of it. Find a way to connect with the end result and start doing the little baby steps to get there. So does that all make good sense? Yeah, good. If anyone's got a question, unmute yourself about that. And I've got Layla on the list who's got a question for the end. But if you've got any questions about what I've just been talking about, let me know. Carol? Yeah.
Yes. I'm trying new headphones. So can you hear me?
Totally can.
Good?
Yeah.
Okay, great. All right. So I'm thinking in a more personal example versus a business example.
Yeah.
Trying to, again, define, because of those words, I just get caught up with words a lot because that's what I do. So what I'm thinking is, if I, good example, I haven't bought a new swimsuit in 100 years and I'd like to get a new swimsuit. And there's, right now I do not fit into this size here. So it would be ridiculous for me to buy that size here. However, I can go shopping for one and I can buy something that aligns with what I want to look like, that fits me, that
Yeah.
will be a step to get to my goal or whatever that might be.
Yeah, great
Okay.
example. Yeah.
All right.
So you're not going to go buy a swimsuit that you don't fit into, because what it's going to do is just reinforce the fact that there's this gap.
Right. Okay.
Right? But starting to look at swimsuits that you would like to have and going, ooh, that's the one that I really like that style, and so on. And then finding something that is as similar to that as possible, but actually fits you so you can enjoy it and flatters you, where you go, wow, you know, yeah, that's so cool. And making it, you know, finding little ways of linking things together.
Okay. All right. That's a good metaphor for the business aspects too. So
Yeah.
perfect. Now I've got it now.
Super cool. Super, super cool.
Yep.
Awesome. Anyone else have a question about acting as if? All good. Excellent. All right. And, you know, we can keep talking about it in the Facebook group, of course, as you've got questions. And, you know, don't be scared to get together with your buddy and like just talk it through. Just nut it out, because you'll be surprised how many examples you come up with. And it'll depend on what you want to play with. But just pick one or two things so that you get practice and you get the hang of it, because when you do that well and you really feel it and you go, oh, I can feel how my action demonstrates my positive expectation and how it helps me connect to the feeling place of the end result. Once you recognize that and you've kind of figured out how that process works for you, then it's something you can just keep applying to every area of life. And it can become something that you just do as a natural thing. Ultimately, that's what I want. I want you to just always be looking for ways to do this, because you're constantly wanting to consciously create. And so it should just get to a stage where it's second nature, where you're always looking for ways to do that. Well, how can I act as if that's already here? How can I energetically connect to the end result and bridge the vibrational gap? You know, that should be your constant thing, like constantly seeking alignment in all these different ways. Super cool. All right, so we're almost on the hour. So what I'll do is I'll do a quick setting an intention closing, and then I've got Layla, Anna, and Sharon on my list for some extra questions. So we'll do that afterwards. So let's set an intention for the rest of your day, or it might be for the next couple of hours, depending what you've got coming up. So you can take yourself to the end of the day or your next kind of thing on your schedule, whatever it is. So if you just want to take a moment and close your eyes down and just take a moment of gratitude for this circle of amazing women and all the wisdom that comes from it, and the opportunity to connect with everybody and raise your vibration and help everybody else raise theirs. And now just setting an intention for whatever's next for you and deciding on what that outcome looks like, feels like, sounds like, and starting to get that mental picture, starting to flesh it out. When you know that it's happened just the way you intended it to, it was perfect and even more perfect than you thought. What do you see? What do you hear? And what do you feel in the moment where you go, well done, this is amazing? And I want you to become aware that that's kind of a visual picture, and maybe just the notion of a picture that's got a spot somewhere in space and time around you. And just imagine you've got a big magic marker, and you can just use an X to mark that spot so you can find your way back to it instantly. And now take your awareness to the center of your chest again, your beautiful heart space, and allow yourself to really generate that feeling of satisfaction. That's right, feeling so satisfied with that outcome, knowing that you created it, you intended it, and you created it. And there it is. And there you are, enjoying it, enjoying the satisfaction of the journey, the satisfaction of being the creator. So much more than even the thing. It's knowing that you are the creator and you have control and you have choice, and you get to feel how you choose to feel, and feeling so satisfied in that. Really generating that feeling in your heart space, letting it grow bigger and stronger with a couple of nice, long, slow breaths, making it even more powerful. That's it. And feeling it so strong and powerful there in your chest. And now just taking your awareness back to that X and imagining you've got Imagine you've got this mouse, like a computer mouse, and you can just click on that X and drag that picture to line up with the crown of your head, just in a direct line above your heart space and the crown of your head. And on the count of 3, you're going to let go and drop that picture through the crown of your head and all the way into your heart space, connecting with the feeling that perfectly matches the satisfaction of that outcome. 1, 2, 3, letting go, letting it drop through the crown of your head all the way down into your heart space and locking it in. Locking in the picture with the feeling. That's right, locking it in. And just taking a moment, see what you see, hear what you hear, and feel what you feel. So powerfully connected with that feeling of satisfaction. And just telling yourself that that's it. It is done. Taking a moment to give thanks. Taking a deep breath in and coming all the way back into the room. Super cool. That was gorgeous. Thank you, lovely ladies. All right, if you've got to go, then mwah, lots of love. And if you're staying, awesome. I've got Layla, Anna, and then Sharon on my list for questions. So Layla, my love, webinar queen, anointed webinar queen. Unmute yourself. What is it? Let's hear it.
The webinar queen. God. Well, it's about the webinar.
Can I just, did I tell you the story of my first webinar?
No, please do. It might make me feel better.
Okay, so basically I kept people waiting live on the webinar for about 15 to 20 minutes while I was crawling around under my desk trying to figure out why they couldn't properly hear or see me, and I was having all I thought there must be connection problems, and it turns out that my husband was like uploading videos, and you just need a bit of bandwidth to run a webinar. And I was like, I've got to plug into a different internet, maybe I'm not connected properly, blah, blah. And I literally had people just sitting there waiting for about 15 to 20 minutes while I was crawling around under my desk. So how'd it go? Better than that?
Thank you for sharing that, Miriam. That's what my comment about when the momentum's really strong, it's hard to interrupt. And I think there's something about the webinar and how, I couldn't find the chat box. And so what was supposed to be a really interactive webinar became me just talking.
Yeah.
And that really wasn't what I wanted. And look, last night I was in bed going, come on, 3 things that went well about the webinar, 3 things that went well. And, there's easily 3 things, there's more than 3 things. But my overall feeling is one of deep shame. I go to this place of shame, right? And I actually describe it like, it's like water flowing down a hill. That's where I want to go is, oh my God, just give up now. This is ridiculous. I could really go there. I'm not going to. Oh, Anna, really? Oh my God. Anyway, so I feel like I'm standing on a rock in the middle of this torrent, and there's just enough space on the rock for 1 foot. And I'm just balancing on it going, no, I'm not getting into that river. I am not fucking getting into that river. Like, I know that river really well. There's absolutely no point riding that white water. I'm going to make this rock bigger. It's a real struggle. So for the last 2, and yesterday was lovely because I had arranged with Jacqueline to drive down to the coast, and we went for a long walk on the beach and we had lunch, and I really was doing a bit of acting as if everything was fine. But really deep down, I feel like I'm in this pit of, it's so interesting. I mean, even as I talk about it, I actually can't quite convince myself. It's like, really? You really want to go? Do you know what? There's a strong pull, and I'm trying not to respond to that pull. I'm trying to resist the pull, but I can feel it having an effect. And I just...
Do you know what my advice would be? Do an encore.
Oh!
Get back on the horse.
I know. I was actually thinking that last night. Do a practice one, like do a practice one where you get, your husband or whatever was spare laptops and iPads around the house to log in, and, and just like practice the chat box thing. Because honestly, the chat box thing does take a bit of, management, and you kind of have to, what I've learned about managing the chat box, I can't multitask. Like, I watch Tash do what she does, and she does have support, but still she's so fluid, and she doesn't lose her place. And I'm like, I can't do that. So I've learned to just, I'm talking now and I have my break points, and that is when I address the chat box. So I ignore the chat box until, I come to a sort of a natural point where I can go, okay, I'm just going to check in on the chat box, and,
it keeps everybody, gets everything up to date again, and then I keep talking, I get back into the flow of it. So
And
I
you do
personally
that
find
so
that helps
well.
me.
And you do that
Well,
so
it's
well.
taken a lot of practice, you know. I mean, I have to do it on every one of our live calls, like this chat. And sometimes it's a FOMO thing, right? I can see there's comments going and conversation. I'm like, what are they talking about? Are they telling, you know, is it something I need to know? But if I keep looking at the chat box, I'm going to lose my flow. So I've done so many of them, Layla. Like I do it, you know, three times a month with you guys. I do it once a month with the masterclass. I do it, you know, I do it constantly, and it just gets easier. It's like everything. It just gets easier. Yeah. But can you remember the first time you had to sit down with a client as a doctor?
Oh, absolutely. Totally.
Like, did you want to vomit?
Yes.
Yeah.
I did. And same as a psychotherapist, you know, sitting
yeah.
So I do get that. And I was thinking last night, I'm just going to send an email out to everyone on that list. Because, you know, so I was thinking, okay, 45 people sat and say, I'm going to do it again. Let's do it again next week. Let's do it again next week.
Yeah.
And then I thought, oh my God, do I really want to put myself through
do
that?
an encore. Just do it. Like promote. You don't need to promote a webinar for weeks and weeks and weeks.
Yeah.
And I know in the beginning you feel like you have to gather the audience, but just do the encore and then, you know, keep it as an evergreen. Like you can keep promoting the recording afterwards. And have it as like an opt-in or something. So that way it's not, you don't feel like, oh, I haven't had enough people. And I just saw Suzanne say somebody's kid drew all over your slides. Yeah, it took me a while too to figure out that you have to disable that on Zoom, because sometimes I go, what are these squiggly lines showing up on my slides? So you learn this stuff as you go, but just do another one, honey. Do another one. You showed up, the internet didn't melt down, and you got all the way through it, and that is a win. That is a win.
Yeah.
Now, people don't understand how confrontational webinars can be, because it's not just the tech and the promo, it's so many things. And, you know, if you're selling something at the end of it as well, it's like a whole other thing.
I think what I really wanted as the outcome was a sense of connection with the people that were there. And I said, and because of the tech, I just didn't get any connection really. And that's where so I think I do need to do it again. I'm like, oh fuck, I'm going to Bali in 2 weeks. I just want to have a holiday. Maybe I'll do it when I get back. Like I don't know.
With the connection, could you do it slightly differently where you actually go off the slides and just go like we are now?
I think that would have worked really well. And actually what I had done was
because you could totally switch backwards and forwards.
Yes, absolutely. And I think if I'd switched back and forth, I might have fucking found the chat box. I don't know where it was. I don't know where it was. But yes, absolutely. It's very hard to speak to a black hole. Absolutely, Carol. And that's what it felt like. So I'm doing experiential exercises, not knowing how they're landing. And that's like, oh, fuck. Yeah, so look, it's good to talk about it. I think what I'm really most interested in is the incredible intensity and momentum. Like this is such a familiar shame response. I just want the earth to open up. I'm like, that's it. The online world is finished for me. I'm jumping out of Takeoff. I'm not doing Facebook.
No, you're not.
I'm just completely like. So I think I just have to harness it up. I think I need to harness it up somehow, and keep moving forward. But I'm going to do Robin's thing. I'm going to sit down and do a grid after this and just get back in alignment. Because I think what happens for me is when that momentum is very strong, it actually becomes really hard to even sit down and do something that I know will interrupt the pattern. Yeah. That's what happens. Yeah.
That's why you've got to have your go-to pattern interrupts and your morning routine down pat to like get that base momentum going. But yeah, you've got to have the pattern interrupts ready and know how to break yourself out of it, because otherwise you end up going down that hole.
So thank you for your support. I just wanted to kind of
it's
you know, shame is all about sharing. It makes the shame go away. So I'm
exactly well, just anytime you think your webinar didn't go well, just imagine my ass poking out from under the desk as I'm crawling around trying to, like, I don't even know what I was thinking, but I remember I was plugging and unplugging different things, trying to work out why, and it just turned out that it was just shitty internet connection, but I just had no idea. I hadn't done it before. I was like, something's wrong.
Okay, thank you so much.
I'm glad I didn't record that one.
Oh, right. Oh, my God. Yeah. I will do it again, and it'll be better. It'll be better. It can only be better, right? It can only be better.
Get better. That's right. And so be grateful you didn't have a bigger audience.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Good
Thank
job.
you.
You did it. You showed up. Well done.
Mm.
Jen saying, remember to wake she remembered to wake with appreciation this morning. She was in a great space, and then the dog puked on the rug at 6 a.m. And I found my appreciation again, being grateful I didn't have to take him to the vet. See, there's always a way. There's always a way. Oh dear. Thank you, Layla. Before you know it, you'll be rocking those webinars.
Thank you.
Who have I got on my list? Anna, my love.
Good morning.
Hello, beautiful.
How are you?
I'm great.
At the same
Thank
time.
you.
That's good. Yeah, Jen's dogs are awesome. We were talking to each other yesterday and I thought she was going to pass out and throw up all at once. And then she's like, the dog just farted. So.
Oh.
It was vile.
Yeah. No shame. No shame there, see?
I just need to talk stuff out because there's stuff happening in my head, but I can't quite put it together yet. Haven't quite put it together yet. So March was a month of exceptional growth for me. And as a result, I have created some awesome stuff in my world. And I've been working through it to see where it comes. And some of it is the deeper stuff that I kind of touched on last week. And I can see how it all links together in this, that I need to let that go. I suppose I'm trying to get my head around, because I'm used to being relatively high vibe 90% of the time. I'm like cruise through life. And for the last week and a half, I've been on a roller coaster. And there is like an underlying river of frustration that I'll do a pattern interrupt. I will do something out of my happy habits. I will do something and I'll lift myself up, and then a small thing will happen and I'll drop back down again.
Mm-hmm.
And it feels like I am. It's like what Layla was talking about. That the momentum is building for the not so great stuff. I'm just not sure what I'm missing to get out of it, or whether maybe I'm still focusing on it and I'm not realizing that I'm focusing on it. Or is it just perturbation and blah?
Blah, blah, blah. Well, is it just perturbation? If it's perturbation, it's dissonance, right? It's a lack of alignment. And what came up for me as you were talking is you had this big growth, right? You had this big evolution and moved into a whole new space. And that's, when you have fast growth, there are parts of you that kind of need to catch up, right? So what you're feeling now it is not that you are at a lower state than you're used to being at, because you're usually quite high vibing and feeling good. It means you're usually in alignment.
Yeah.
Right? But alignment is about alignment. And every time you grow, you get to be in alignment or not in alignment. And the way you feel lets you know how in alignment or not you are. And it actually doesn't have that much to do with whether you've evolved from before or not. Does that make sense? I mean, some people live in a constant state of misalignment. That's a whole other thing.
Yep.
But for you, like you were in a pretty good way, pretty good state and very aligned. And now you've grown and your desire has expanded. Your vision for what's possible for you has expanded. So like your higher self has moved on to this whole new level and you're needing to catch up to it. So I just want to sort of make you aware that don't be hard on yourself and go, oh, I'm worse than ever. No, you're not. you're just needing to catch up in alignment to where your higher self has expanded to. Like your physical self is needing to kind of catch up a little bit. And so you've got to figure out the ways. And maybe the ways you used to get there before don't quite work for you at this level. And you need to find, pardon me, a new way that is more, that's just works better for where you're now operating. So maybe the same old stuff doesn't cut it anymore for you at this level. So it's what I talked about before, contrast, there's you and there's where you're going, and a huge part of you has already moved there, but there's still that, so yeah, it is dissonance and it is that reintegration. But again, the same rules of the game apply. Go back to basics, go back to finding a way of letting it go, finding a way of focusing on what is working and finding a way of ignoring what's not working, finding a way of interrupting the patterns, and stop comparing to the past, because that's just pulling you back even further.
Yeah.
It's all about you and you. It's all about you, like the largely physical you and the expanded and largely etherical you, right? The vibrational you. And it's about the gap between the vibrations. That's it. It's got nothing to do with what happened yesterday, who you were last week or last month. Let that go.
Yep.
It's about between you and you right here, right now, wherever you're at.
Okay.
And you're going to keep expanding and evolving. Usually I don't know if I drew the diagram. I try to draw this diagram, which doesn't really work. But, it's that expansion, and it's constant evolution and constant movement forward. And often the gap is sort of fairly minimal and we're okay with it and feels quite good. But every now and then we expand really fast and far, and the gap gets a bit wider, and we have to kind of do our best to catch up. Is this making sense?
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know if it's actually answering your question, but I just felt like it's what I needed to say.
No, it does. It does. I get it.
Yeah. So it's not about the past. It's about here. It's always about here and now. And it's about finding a way of getting yourself in alignment and, play with some new things and focus on everything that is working. Like just strip it right back to basics. Because by stripping it back to basics, you're not going to lose the ground you've gained. Because that can be where people go, oh, but I don't want to go back to basics because I've come so far. Back to basics just means letting the momentum build again, fresh and renewed from a really solid platform. Like just getting rid of all the resistance, letting go and go, all right, I'm just going to, start fresh on my alignment, on my vibrational alignment. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
And Layla's just saying she can relate. She had a huge month in business and feels like I haven't fully up-leveled into that place. Yeah, sometimes we grow really fast and we have to kind of give ourselves a chance to catch up on all the other levels.
Yeah. Okay, awesome. Thank you.
You good?
All good. Thank you.
Good. Okay, Sharon.
Hello.
Hi, gorgeous.
Hi. It's so weird. Sometimes you talk me up and it's like, I might be good at some things, but when it comes to myself, sometimes, the nature of denial is if you're in denial, you don't know you're in denial. So you have to find out what you're in denial about, and I'm in denial.
So you're not in denial anymore then?
Well, I am in denial in the solution to the denial that I've thought I was in denial, but now know what the denial was about. Jen's nodding her head. She knows how crazy I can be. I had a really interesting strategy session with somebody yesterday as a freebie, and it was about this resistance to creating, bookings that I've got. It's so interesting that you can in terms of the car broke down and it went away, and it's like, that's fine. I'm just creating, people are offering me lifts. I'm having the most incredible Uber drivers who are so philosophical. It's amazing. They're like, I'm just traveling with gurus everywhere. It's like all that wonderful stuff, sitting on trains, and they all got free Wi-Fi. I love Brisbane, that sort of stuff.
Wow.
And it's like I'm in the most beautiful house in Lota, and it's just gorgeous with these beautiful, great big Roddy's looking after, and I've got people visiting me left, right and centre, and it's just, it's just lovely. But what what we talked about was that there's a big resistance in me to booking, and it's like, you know how like the week before last I couldn't I couldn't do the call last week because I was moving, but the week before last I was talking about how, yeah, isn't it great, I got a booking, I finally started booking and everything, and that was it. And it's like when we were doing the strategy session yesterday, one of the things that she identified was that when I was in my last permanent home, it felt like I had roots and they were really, really deep, and that everything could come from there. It's like my morning routine. I'm in my own place. I can sit at my desk. My thought forms at my desk. Everything's out planned. I just pick up what I've got. I can have an in tray. You can't have an in tray when you move from place to place because things just go into bags and come out of bags, and it just feels like I'm the bag lady now. And, Sharon Staff, kinesiology for business in plastic bags. And it just, there's just such a discord there. And she said, it sounds like you feel like a pot plant being shifted from place to place. Mm-hmm. And that's what it actually feels like. It's like I can't get those roots down deep. And it's really, it's, I part of it is that because like when I was going really, really well last year, I actually worked out how many hours I was working, and it was around about 50 to 60 hours a week when I was going really well last year when we were doing effectology and everything like that. And I thought, that's crazy. I didn't work for myself to do 60-hour weeks. That's what I used to do for other people. Mm-hmm. And it's like, because it's like, moving, and then you're here, and then you're moving, and then you're here, and then you've got to set up. And, Jo Bendel said to me, when you're moving, take the day off, because I asked her about her laptop lifestyle. And she said when she was moving, she always took the day off to sit down and, just familiarise herself with where she was and come into the space that she is. But it feels like, it feels like my foundations are on sand instead of on something firm. And being an engineer, you'd understand that, Miriam. It just feels like every time I start to get myself organised, it shifts, and just working on people's dining room tables and in the place that I stay in between house sits, I'm sitting on the floor in someone's spare room with all their spare boxes around me. And it just feels like I'm not here. Help me get out of this one, Miriam.
Okay, honey. So on a practical level, here's a thought. You're pretty much around Brisbane the whole time, aren't you? Okay. Can you find a co-working space or some people to co-work with so that you actually have a regular place to go work from?
I've asked a couple of people, and yes, I can, but then I have to move everything to that space and then move it back. And it's like, well, that's 4 hours out of my day. And I know that I said people offer me lifts and public transport and everything, but it's still, like here at Lota, it's absolutely beautiful. But if I want to get into Brisbane, it's going to take me 3/4 of an hour. Okay. And then setting up and then getting home. Well, that's 2 to 3 hours out of my day that I just lost just moving around and stuff. And, it's just like, I don't really want to do that. I want to work.
Yeah. But you're not at the moment.
No, I'm not. I'm not.
So you've got to find a way that it's like,
actually, maybe I just need to get back into POMS. Jen and I and a few other people, we used to do a lot of POMS last year.
Yeah.
And maybe that's what I need. Oh God, thank you, Miriam. What I need to do is I need to get back into POMS again and just commit myself into my POM groups.
You need to find out how to create your own routine, and you say you feel like your pot plant, which means you are your container.
Yeah.
Right? So you need to make sure that you're creating a container that can move. And, that's the beautiful thing about a pot plant. It can change where it's located, but it's still safe. It still has its roots. It's being protected. It's being taken care of. And it can live in different places. So making sure that your container is really well set up. You know, I asked the question about can you do co-working, because for some people it works to actually go, actually twice a week I'm in this co-working office. That's when I see my clients, you know, like Jen used to do in Dubai.
Yeah.
She would go, these are my client-facing days, and I know that I've got privacy and quiet when I want to see my clients, and I can do my other work at the dining table or whatever, because it doesn't really matter. So, you know, that's why I asked that. But just making sure you start creating your container, you know, getting back into POMs. And, you know, as soon as we get through that module in effectology, I'll throw some up every now and then, and I probably should now anyway, because they're just such a helpful thing to help you feel like you have a structure. So you've got to find ways to create your own structure. What else was I going to say that popped up before?
You know, I think I might go to Bunnings, and for those who don't come from Australia, Bunnings is like Home Depot.
Yeah.
I think I might go to Bunnings and buy myself a pot plant.
Yeah, I think it's a really good idea.
And actually, like something that's, you know, quite hardy, that's going to be that I can nurture, and find one that sort of represents me, and actually carry that around with me. So wherever I go, I take myself with me. Oh God, I like that one.
Yeah.
So old, isn't it? But maybe I just need to have something physical representing so that I can see this. You know,
I feel like this whole thing you're going through is very much forcing you, because you've asked for it, obviously, at some vibrational level, to learn how not to be dependent on other people, other stuff. You know, you had the roots, but it also kept you very dependent and very, very attached. So finding ways to actually create your own little container and be stable and grounded within yourself, no matter what's going on around you, that will help you manifest an environment that gives you that. But right now, until you know, as you know, until you find it within you, feeling grounded, feeling settled, it's not going to be able to show up in your external world. So your external world will take care of itself as you find a way to figure out how to feel that way, no matter what's going on outside of you. So get a pot plant, whatever it is that you go, right, this is my sacred little workspace, you know, set yourself up. And it can be anywhere. It can be in a cafe, it can be at someone's dining table, it can be, you know, wherever. And you've got the pot plant and whatever your other little bits are, and that's your workspace. And then having your structure within how you work, like you say, you know, getting back into POMs is really important, because when you start with that, what do you guys call it with Joe? I call it Power Hour, Mighty 90. When you start with that, you know, you're setting your day up, and it's like, it's got the structure. And that's why Joe's so good at teaching that, because, you know, having everything on the outside of you being so in flux, you really need to keep this very tidy and very organized.
And that's why I did this, and that's why, you know, the commitment was, until I master this being able to move around, I'm not going to look for a home to live in a permanent home to live in, not until I master this.
Yeah.
This is because it's like...
This is your lesson right now.
Well, it is. And what I'm learning is what I can share with my clients when they go through this. So I want, because, you know, I'm very, very much, you know, experience, you know, peer, you know, a peer person. So it's like, I know that this is really important, not just for my growth, but for also what I can pass on through what I learn in it. And yeah, and you know, thank you, Carol, but I'm not going to get stoned.
She thinks that we've all got pot plants in our house, Carol.
No, she's talking about marijuana.
I know, that's why I'm saying it. In Australia, we all have pot plants. We love them.
Yeah, sorry.
So we're so happy.
Yeah, I think that's what I need. It's interesting how, you know, when we talk about this act as if and this new stuff coming in. And it was like, I had the strategy session yesterday, and the day before that, I was actually at a friend's place, you know, in between house sits, and we were watching this horror movie called Dumplings, which is, I'm not even going to go into it about it, because not everybody's going to like what it's about. But in it, she has like a rose bush in a pot plant, and because it's in Hong Kong, you know, where most people have pot plant gardens. Carol's just loving our references here, and she planted this thing in the pot plant, and a couple of days later it was just covered in roses. and it was something that represented new life, and all of a sudden it was covered in roses, and then the next day we talk about pot plants, and here we are talking about pot plants, and me going, yeah, I think I'll go and buy a pot plant. And isn't it funny how things come in before you actually
That's right.
ask them, and then you go,
okay,
oh, these are those little signposts along the road that say this is where you're meant to be going, this is where you're meant to be doing. And and then all of a sudden going, oh look, I can do online poems. And seeing, because Jen came on, it's like we used to do lots of poems in Wildly Successful, so it's like, oh yeah, just get back into poems, and I'm co-working with people without having to leave.
Yep, perfect.
That feels better. That feels better.
Create your container, baby, and create your own roots and stability, and then that it'll just all start to show up externally. That's not even for you to worry about. Good job.
Yeah, I'm sorry, everybody. Sometimes I just need to, it's just, Miriam sets me up as this great, person who knows this. I'm just like everybody else.
Yes, you are.
Stuff too.
Well, we're all just like everybody else.
Yeah.
So, okay, beautiful.
Thank you.
Yeah, and that's why I like spending this extra half hour at the end. Just, it's so beneficial for everybody. Isha, I've got just a couple of minutes. If you want to ask a quick question, let me unmute you. I've literally got 3 minutes. Where are you?
On audio.
Hi.
Hi, hi, how are you going? Hello, everyone.
I like the way you always duck in right at the end and go, can I have a question? Can I ask a question?
I know, just quickly.
Go for it.
I think it's a quick question. It's just, I've decided that the one thing I have to do for my business is just videos. Like I feel like all the content's in my head and I have to figure it out through videos, if that makes sense. And then I find I resist them. I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know.
And so?
It's like I almost keep wondering if I'm cut out for, I'm a bit like Layla, if I'm cut out for the online space, to be honest.
Okay, so you've got some resistance, and there's parts of you that don't quite believe it and aren't fully in alignment, and there's probably some limiting beliefs. Now, all of those things are only as powerful as you allow them to be. If you want to give them lots of attention and start digging deep into them and really and this is the thing, I love helping people release limiting beliefs, but I'm only willing to step in when they really, really need the help, because a lot of the time they don't need the help. They just need to be told to stop focusing on it so bloody much and stop obsessing over it. Oh my God, I've got a problem. Oh, what will I do now? Well, I better spend all my time thinking about it, talking about it, obsessing over it. Are you willing to just go, yeah, okay. Anyway, I'm still going to do this. And this is why we do module 1. You've got to connect to why you're bothering, why it's important, what the bigger picture is, and realize, yeah, there's going to be resistance along the way. And a lot of the time, your job is just to go, oh, that's interesting. Anyway, I'm going to do it anyway. Feel the fear and do it anyway. And suddenly the resistance just resolves itself because you've proven to yourself that it wasn't even a thing. But if you give it energy, you're going to keep manifesting more and more of it. So, all right, everyone's scared of doing videos. I get scared of doing videos sometimes. Sometimes I go, I've got nothing. I don't even know what I'm going to say. I know there's something I'm going to say. Fuck it, just press the button and it'll come out. I do that a lot.
Well, I think I'm coming to that conclusion. Then I'm almost, because then I do the video, then I go back and I watch it, and then I go, oh no, it needs this, and I think I just need to do the video and post it, and not give a rat's.
So Isha, here's my hot tip for you, which is going to freak you out even more, but so what? Do a Facebook Live.
I know, I used to do them and I hated them.
Good, keep doing them, because they make you really good at trusting what's flowing through you. They make you really good at being succinct. It's a bit like, speaking on stage. And Jen helped me prepare for the Heart-Centered Business Conference. I suck at rehearsing my talk because it hasn't got the same, there's not the people there. I'm not on the spot. I'm not in the zone. I'm not I've got nowhere to run. And when I am on stage and there's an audience there, I'm like, far out, that was awesome. Where did all that come from? And, you know, I actually did remember stuff and I threw in some extras and it's all just perfect. And so that factor, you know, you still have to practice and know what you're going to say, but that factor is huge. And that's what you get out of doing a Facebook Live. It's like, it switches you on, whereas if you're just recording the video, you're going to be obsessing over it and procrastinating editing and procrastinating refilming like forever. So don't do it. Don't do it. Do Facebook Lives, cut your teeth, do it fast. Fail fast, keep moving forward. Sorry, I'm being very tough on you. Fail fast, keep moving forward.
No, it's good. Like I keep thinking to myself with my past business, I had to make cushion covers and just work out what people liked. Like I couldn't keep thinking, oh, no, that's I had to put them out there, and people would say they liked that one and that one looked ugly. You know, like you got to suck it up and
yeah. And so, you know, I'm not saying go out totally unprepared. Have your 3 key points and what your main message is, and how you're going to know how you're going to start and know how you're going to finish, so that you don't end up going blah 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 verbal diarrhea, which, you know, ask me how I know. Like you need to know how you're going to finish and just finish.
Yeah.
Like,
Okay.
How are you going to finish? Is there a call to action? Is there a, and if you want to hear more stuff like this, follow my Facebook page. You know, if you've got nothing else, have something, and then have your little see you later alligator, and that's it, and be done.
And just be, yeah, and like you say, 3 points and you're out.
3 points and you're out.
Yeah, perfect. And
Fail fast.
And suck it up, princess.
Suck it up, princess, and just do it.
Be Nike.
I love you. Just do it.
Yeah. All right. Thank you.
Yeah, and exactly as Jen just said. So I actually use these. They're called magnetic notes, but you can use just Post-its. And these are see-through, and they go on anything, and you can write with whiteboard marker on them, so you don't have to keep throwing them away. And I stick them right under my camera usually, and I just have a word for each dot point and just a reminder of what my call to action is. And then, what I like about these is I can just get a tissue, erase them, and start again until they stop.
Perfect.
Yeah. So, and you can just use a Post-it, just, you know, just 3 words, because you know what you're going to say.
Absolutely. Yeah. Perfect. Awesome.
These magnetic notes are one of the girls in the Heart Centered group sells them. So but I bought these a long time ago. It's TeslaAmazing.com is the website on the back, but I thought she was an Australian distributor. Anyway, I bought them ages ago, and I bought some bigger ones too. And there's coloured ones, which I do recommend coloured ones, because the see-through ones are sometimes a little bit, depending where you stick them, a bit weird.
Okay.
So there you go. So, because Layla just asked, where do you get them in the chat box?
Yeah, perfect.
All right,
thank you.
Beautiful people, I'm going to love you and leave you. Keep up the awesome work. Do the acting as if. Share in the group. What's our hashtag for this lesson? Whatever I said it is in the lesson. Probably hashtag acting as if. I'll know what you mean anyway. And I shall see you soon. Bye.